Greetings radio people, welcome back once more to my shack. I've had these two rigs sat side by side for quite a while now. This is the TS890 and this is the IC7610. I use them both day to day. I thought I'd do a quick video of them side by side so you can have a look at the differences between them and try and make up your own mind of which you prefer. Let me know what you think. And as usual, I'd be very grateful if you like what I'm doing, if you subscribe to the channel. Your support would be very much appreciated. Let's get on with it. So it's a nice quiet 40-metre band. I'm wondering what the date is today. I'm thinking it's the 20th of the 5th, 2020. I still haven't got coronavirus, which is kind of good. I thought I'd take an opportunity to try and show you the 7610 and the 890 side by side. Now, I've currently got the 7610 with the Digicel thing on, which you can switch on either here or in the menu button here. If you run it with the Digicel thing on, I've yet to find a decent use for this, in all honesty. You can see there's a slight preamplification. If you look at the waterfall, you can see that the overall amplitude of the signals has dropped a bit with it off. But if you switch it on, what that's doing is basically putting a peak of RF around the tuning signal, but it's very wide. So I would imagine it's very good at rejecting out of band signals, which is not something that I really suffer with. Let me show you a few things on the 7610, then we'll swap over to the 890 and kind of do the same thing, and hopefully you can see the two and make a really sensible comparison between the two. Of course, the 7610 has got two receivers, so I can put it in dual watch mode, so I can have two receivers at the same time. So the second receiver is at 703005. Now, a couple of things I find difficult on this. I find the auto-tune button pretty useless. So that's just tuned itself into that CW signal by pressing auto-tune. But now if I show you my CW pitch, which is 700 Hertz, and again this is another difficulty, so to hear my CW pitch sensibly I need to mute the receiver audio, but if I do that with the volume control then I've muted the side tone as well, so I need to turn up the RF gain and turn up the volume. So that's my CW pitch that I'm aiming at. And of course the signal's gone, but I'm pretty confident that it hadn't tuned in properly. It's got it right there on a very strong signal, but on weaker signals it's not so good. But trying to match the two, because if I press the key now with the break-in off, so I'm not transmitting, it's very difficult to hear my side tone over the receiver noise. It's too quiet somehow. I find that very difficult. I haven't found a way to do that very sensibly. And I do find the auto-tune pretty damn useless. But again, it seems to work on stronger signals and not so good on weaker signals. But let's, another thing that I find very difficult is tuning. If I tune manually, there's nothing, even if I put the audio spectrum on, there's nothing here to tell me what the audio pitch of this is. I mean, I guess I could figure it out from the divisions and what have you, but if I want to tune that into my CW pitch at 700 Hertz, I have no way of doing that. And if I get it wrong, when I switch the APF on, of course I'll be outside of the band pass. So by finding the centre of the APF, which is probably about there, then I think I'm probably pretty much spot on now. But I'm not, am I? So it's more like there, isn't it? So that's with the APF on. APF off. So let's just quickly switch over to the 890. Now immediately you'll notice that the Kenwood has got the CW pitch here. So you can see the peak of the audio signal, and my CW pitch that I've got selected is visible on the bottom. So I know that my CW pitch is set at 700 Hertz, and I know that I've tuned that in now. The auto tune function, the CW tune button, which is over here off screen on the Kenwood to the right of the main tuning knob, CWT it says, that works better I find on the Kenwood than on the Icom. So there's a load of different settings on the Icom for the spectrum scope. You can adjust the colour and all sorts of other levels. Now I've done that on mine, so it's purple and various other things. You can't do that on the Kenwood. You've set with a fixed set of selections. I tend to run mine like that day to day. All like that. What you can do on the Kenwood, of course, that you can't do on the Icom is CW decoding, and I find this works extremely well, and for a novice CWer this is really useful. It also decodes my sending, so I can check my spacing and all that kind of stuff, which again I find very, very useful. But this spectrum scope at this size now, which I can't get rid of, I've got no options here, I can either have it or not have it, is useless. It's too damn small. So I'd like either the waterfall or the spectrum scope here, but I can't. I don't have that option. It's either on, both of them, or off, which seems quite a shortfall and something they could fix in firmware, you'd think, but it's not an option. But this to me is very useful for tuning in, and I don't have that on the Icom. So back to my gripes about CW pitch. So the keying speed is a knob on the right hand side, so every time I make an adjustment to the keying speed you can see there's a pop-up box comes up to tell me what the speed is. Excellent, like that very much, that's great. The pitch control is on the same knob but the outer rather than the inner, but when I make adjustments to the pitch nothing comes up on the screen to tell me what the pitch is set at. So now that I've changed that, and I do change it accidentally quite often when I change the key speed, I've no knowledge of what my CW pitch is set at without hitting the key, and again with the volume down I can't hear the side tone, so I've got to turn the volume up and the RF gain. So to find out what the CW pitch is I have to press and hold the filter button, and it's 705, so I want it on 700 Hertz, which is there. So that seems very difficult, quite painful, setting the CW pitch. And again, why the side tone turns down and up with the audio volume of the receiver, I'm not sure, because if I want to hear my side tone again, I've got to turn up the RF gain. So a few things about configuration. So I've set my band scope up so that I've generally got well, the first thing to tell you is if you put it in center mode, and this is the worst thing about the Icom 7610 for me, if you put it in center mode, when I tune this now you will see how the waterfall smears. So you can see the signals have bent and smeared as I tune from side to side. That's, in my view, completely and utterly unacceptable. So I never run mine in center mode like this. I always run it in fixed mode. And what I've done is I've configured it so that on every band you've got a set of spans, if you like. You can set up the edges. So here we've got the whole 7.0 to 7.2. This is the CW bit 7.0 to 7.060, and this is 7.4 to 7.65. I mean, that's how I've got mine configured, and you can see the little arrows here mean that the tuning point is off the bottom of the scale. So again, I would never run this in fixed mode. Now let me demonstrate the same thing to you on the Kenwood. So on the Kenwood, very similarly, I've got ranges set up for my different fixed width band scopes. But if I were to put this into center mode like we just had on the Icom, and if I tune now, you'll see the difference. So when I tune on the Kenwood, it moves the whole spectrum and it doesn't smear it like it did on the Icom. And that, to me, is one of the best bits of software implementation they've got on this radio. Very, very well thought out. Makes a huge difference to the usability, because you can see the signals that you're aiming at as you tune up the band. Whereas on the Icom, they just smear all over the screen and you can't see them anymore. Makes a big difference to the operability of the rig, in my view. And again, I really like the ability to be able to tune into the pitch correctly, and that's simple with this visibility here of the audio spectrum. That's missing on the Icom. So this is center mode. So here, when you tune it, the whole band, the whole waterfall moves with the tuning. Superb. Auto scroll mode, when I get near the end of the tuning range, it will jump back to the center. Thus. And now if I tune down, when I get close to the bottom, which is at 7035, it will jump again, thus. But again, there's no smearing on the waterfall. Or fixed mode, which is how I tend to have it, where I've got fixed edges that I can configure myself. As I've said, generally, day-to-day CW operation, I use the radio in this mode here, like this. So this is the same signal on the Kenwood. You pays your money, you takes your choice.